Yes, we thank you for keeping it with us and welcome to this week's edition of UBC One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukoma. The Catholic Church in Uganda, in Kampala, in Uganda, in Africa and the world at large is still mourning the demise of the Right Reverend Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, the Archbishop of the Kampala Archdiocese. We are dedicating this hour, this week, to his tribute, to get to know more about the man Kizito Lwanga, his works and those factors that could have enabled his success. Who are we having to this brief discussion is none other than the parish priest, Christ the King Parish in the middle of the beautiful city Kampala, and also the current Vicar General of Kampala Archdiocese. Monsignor, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lugema.
How is Christ the King in the first place, especially in a situation like this?
Well, Christ the King is one of those parishes of the Archdiocese of Kampala, which has lost its leader, pastor, Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, who has been the Archbishop of Kampala Archdiocese. He's dead, so he can no longer be the Archbishop because he's dead.
True.
Earlier on, you thought I was the Vicar General. What happens in the Catholic Church, when a bishop dies, a bishop of an ordinary of the diocese dies, like he died, those who are in such positions cease to be in those positions. That's the arrangement of the Catholic Church.
So, as he died,
yes, you cease.
I'll use the political term. His whole cabinet ceases to occupy the positions they have had.
Definitely, the majority of them, except one, I think that's the one of the Chancellor. That one remains functioning, but the others cease until an arrangement is made to carry out the duties before they elect a new bishop to a particular diocese.
All we have in Kampala Archdiocese is the Chancellor.
The Chancellor is there, basically assisted a little bit by the former Vicar General, Msgr Kasivante, in a board of consultors meeting. They asked that he be the interim assistant in this kind of situation before a definite arrangement is made. Yeah.
How about the parish priests that he had appointed?
Those remain in position.
Okay.
But the administrative level of the top of the diocese, that one now has to cease a bit, because otherwise you can get into confusion. So that's why I think the church is is an old institution with a lot of experiences. In its slow, that's how it organizes itself, that when the bishop dies, there's a halt to some of those positions. Definitely, the Vicar General is one of those. I've been Vicar General number 2, so now I'm not a Vicar General anymore from that point of view.
From the day your boss
from the day he died.
Now, how long does that take? Does it take a period until we get a new bishop?
Well, it depends. Now, when the Archbishop died, the Apostolic Nuncio was informed of this, and he took note of it, and is the one now to liaise with the Vatican See and organize and tell us exactly what to do. In case he has not done it within the time maybe that is expected, the board of consultants can meet among themselves and elect one to be a diocesan administrator. In case Rome has not acted within a particular period of time, the board of consultants that was there to assist the Archbishop, the former Archbishop who has died, he had a board of consultants which assisted him when he invited them. That board can sit and he'll ask one of them, or ask somebody to be a diocesan administrator for that matter. But that has not happened, I think, yet, no.
Okay. We have started with a very big lesson there.
Yes.
Now, where did the news find you? This sad kind of breaking news that the Archbishop has been found dead in his room. Where did it find you? Personally, I was in Entebbe somewhere, and we heard on the radio. I called a few people. They said, "It's true. We are all seeing it on all platforms." Where did it find you? And what was your reaction?
Where the news found me was Rubaga itself, but I was called there by the Chancellor. I had just finished my breakfast, and the mobile is on, and he calls, "Come quickly to Rubaga. There is news that you have to. There is information for you that you have to pick." So I said, "Now, what has happened?" What in the mind, or human mind, begins now. What have I done? What wrong have I done? Why am I being called so urgently to Rubaga? So anyway, fortunately I was around. Normally on Saturday mornings I go out in the gardens to dig just for my exercises, but that day I had not gone out. The car I was supposed to use had some little technical problem, so they had taken it earlier that morning for some repair, so I was around. So I went to Rubaga, and when I reached Rubaga, I called him. I said, "Where are you? Where do I find you?" He said, "Come to the Archbishop's residence." So I went to the Archbishop's residence through the main gate, and I found them in a sitting room of the Archbishop's residence. There were a number of them there, the Chancellor himself, the former Vicar General, Msgr Kasibante, the doctor of the MD of Rubaga Hospital, Dr. Sectorico, and I think some relatives of the Archbishop were seated there. And then I sat, and as I sat, the doctor looked at me and said, "Yes, the Archbishop is dead." That's where I got the information. And that his body is still in his room. So that's where I got the information at Rubaga. But I was called. By the time I was called, of course, he was already dead.
But they didn't break it.
But they didn't tell me at that stage. They told me only when I reached Rubaga.
Okay.
Then, well, we started to find out exactly how to proceed with such a situation, a certain situation, very unfortunate situation of a sudden death of the leader. It becomes a bit tricky. So we sat and we asked the Chancellor and I think the Vicar General to go and inform the Apostolic Nunciature, the Apostolic Nuncio in Mbuya, which they did immediately. They went in person. And they didn't take much time. They went, they informed him and told him. He also told them who else to inform immediately, like the Episcopal Conference of Zambia, and also told them to inform the head of state, which they did. And then we came back. But meanwhile, as they were there, they told us to, we tried to organize a statement which would be read to the rest of here. And also they brought in a vehicle, because now it was still a bit tricky, but of course news has started leaking out, and we didn't like to have that kind of situation of rumor mongering. But because once you contact more than 2-3 people about something, then news begins, especially when it is shocking. When somebody is shocked, it begins giving out information. So we try to avoid that situation. So to bring in a vehicle to take out the body was also a bit tricky. So they brought in an ambulance, and we brought the body from its room and put it in the ambulance, and it was taken to Rubaga Hospital without much excitement around people. But there was some news which had already leaked a little bit from somewhere. I don't know exactly.
Probably from the staff within the Archbishop's home.
Because also many of the staff did not know actually. Okay. Many of the staff had not known. But I think there is somebody whom they contacted for some arrangements who must have started leaking it out a bit. So after the body had moved, they also came back and the statement was ready So that's when it became a little more official public.
Around 11.
That was, I think, around 11, more or less. I don't remember exact time, but it was a little bit around 11.
Because I saw the video of the Chancellor, Monsignor Kasibante, yourself.
Yes.
Those are the three faces
you saw.
I could really recognize
in the
when the Chancellor was
reading the statement.
That was at around 11 a.m.
That's right then. That's when it was then. That's when it was. I was not looking at my watch anymore. I was just there.
Actually, I was going to ask you, how were you people feeling? What kind of feeling? What was running in your mind?
Of course, it was a shocking thing. Once you are shocked, you are shocked. You don't think much at that stage, but you have to be careful. Keep calm and not make mistakes in such a situation. It's possible that when you are shocked, you can make bad mistakes. So, but people remained calm, and of course some relatives started arriving, and once they were getting the news, they would make, before we announced, they were to ask them not to make too much of the, to keep a little bit calm, and until the news was announced to the public, official to the public.
Okay. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Amen.
When did you get to know Cyprian Kizito Lwanga, the person, as a fellow priest?
Well, I first met him closely in the seminary when I was still a student myself, and he himself was a student. He was 2 years behind me in major seminary. He had studied in Nyenga minor seminary, so I didn't meet him at that stage, because for me I had studied in Kisubi minor seminary. And by the time he went to the major seminary to do philosophy in Katigondo, I'd left and I was in Igaba National Major Seminary. So I didn't meet him neither in the minor seminary nor in the philosophical seminary in Katigondo. So we met at National Seminary Igaba. That's where I first met him. And hearing about him was when I was writing some little research for a diploma of Makerere and there was a little map I wanted to draw to indicate the place which I was trying to research on, which was Mengo Chisenyi area. So I asked people whom, if they knew somebody who can assist me to draw a decent little map, and they told me Kizito Lwanga.
Okay.
And that's how I came close to him. I went to him, I think he was living even what we called House 5. I went there and I asked him, can you assist me to draw? And he said, yes, I can. So he drew me a map for that purpose. And that's the closest I came to him in the seminary, because at that point, and we didn't stay too long with them. I think the year would have stayed with them, a full year. We left the seminary two terms earlier. We were supposed to leave in December, but we left in April.
What had happened?
I was not in administration then, but what happened was that I think they had many students coming, and they didn't have enough space. Okay. And so they told us that much of your program is finished. You can go. So we left 2 terms early, and we ordained. Actually, for us, we ordained in May. We ordained May 18th here by the late Cardinal Nsubuga, Archbishop Nsubuga then, and instead of being ordained in December, we were supposed to finish in December and be ordained in December, but we ordained in May. He said, what am I waiting for? You asked if you are sent back, I ordained you. So he ordained us in May.
And you went into service.
And we went to service right away. I was first appointed to Chiganda Parish, that is Mitiana,
yes,
towards Mubende. 1 year, some month after my appointment there, I was transferred by the cardinal, who said, they have asked me, the seminaries have asked me that you go and assist in the seminaries. I said, oh my goodness, that's not for me. I'm not ready for that. He
assist
said,
in teaching.
Teaching.
Yes.
I said, I'm not ready for that. But he said, well, you go, they will tell you what to do. That's what the Archbishop told me. Because for us, we are brought up in those days in These days, maybe things have changed a little bit.
What do you mean by that?
Obedient. So
when you say things have changed a little bit, what do you mean by that?
well,
Do people say
people
no
can
to
resist.
assignments
People
today?
can resist a bit today. You never know. But I'm not saying they resist, but there's a possibility maybe there is more of that kind of what they call inverted commas dialogue, which was less at that time. At that time they tell
You're
you
assigned, you move and
you are turn, you move and go. So I went with a lot of fear. But so that's why I went to Katigondo in 1977. So
that's why you first taught.
that's where I first taught for about a year and a half. And in 78, I was asked to go and improve on my knowledge in Rome.
Okay.
So I was sent to Rome to do biblical studies. And so by the time Archbishop Kizito Lwanga was ordained a priest, I was about to go. I think he was ordained in April 78. And I left Uganda in September 78. So at that time I was even organizing myself to go. I never had an opportunity at that stage to come close to him as a priest as such. But because he became the private secretary of Cardinal Nsubuga, he used to travel with him to Rome and other places. So we met in Rome again when he was there with the Archbishop then, the late Cardinal Nsubuga. So I saw him there as he was his private secretary. And then in 1980,
First time you met him
was in Igawa.
some assistance for research.
Some assistant,
This
but we
time-
were together in the seminary at that stage.
Yes.
Yes.
This time around, he came with his boss
He was his boss as
a private
a
secretary.
private secretary.
And when you met, what kind of relationship was there between the two of you? What did you share?
Well, when you are in a foreign country at that stage, even was it 70? I don't exactly remember which first time we met with him. But that's the time when Uganda was in trouble again. Idi Amin's days. Then after that, the war started.
So meeting such a person coming from
You want to,
UK,
you want to find out what is going on, what is here on the ground, what are the problems, and those are the things you are anxious to know. And for him, since he's a priest, you don't have much. Okay, even when we are out, okay, you can even talk with the bishop a bit closely, but with the priest, it's a little easier. So
Your level.
we are your level. So I think those were, because a long time ago, I don't remember exactly, but those must have been the things we are looking forward to know a little better about what is taking place in Uganda. So that was, but later on, he was sent by the Archbishop to do a course in France, in Paris, around Paris also, near Paris, the French capital, but not necessarily maybe in Paris. I don't remember the exact place where he went. I don't remember, but that was 1980, I think, 1980 something, 80. So I think Senior, is it Kanyerezi Matia of Kasanalu Well, we went to France to do some French course, to do some language course in French. And that's where he came to meet us again now, because he knew we are in Paris. So he came from where he was and came and we visited.
The three of you were in France.
We are in France.
But you were in a different institution.
Yeah, so he came and visited.
When he heard that you people were in the country,
yes,
he came to visit.
He came and visited. And we had a dinner or something, and he went back. And for us, after a month, it was not a long course. 1 month, 2 months, we left and we returned to Rome. And for him, we continued his studies in France.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are some of the occasions at that stage that I met him.
So in terms of work now, the studies, seminary, then university in Rome, and where as students, now as priests serving the church.
When I returned to Uganda myself, I was posted in Gulu, Alokulum. So again, I was not very close. I went there to teach in the seminary in Igulu. So I wasn't in Kampala very closely in Kampala. So I stayed in Gulu for 3 years. That was 82 to end of 85. And those again were the times when there was trouble in Kasana Luwero Triangle, fighting. Sometimes to go to Gulu was very difficult. You have to travel through Jinja, through Soroti Lira, and then other times you would risk and you go through Luwelo, and you could see a devastated area, no people, deserted. So I didn't have much opportunity up to that stage but much of the time I think for him he remained in administrative positions around Rubaga. Okay. Much of the time. When he returned, I don't know which year he returned, then I think he was made a chancellor, and at a later stage I think he was made a vicar general maybe. So, but then for me, when I was transferred from Alokulum, I was posted in National Seminary Gaba. Still a little bit
distant
from the diocesan operations. So
where he was.
Okay. Where he was. So I stayed in Gaba up to from 1985 December to 2001 February. So
very long time.
That was a long time. So within that, by the time I left Gaba, I was the bishop now in Kasana Luwero. I think he went to Kasana Luwero in 96.
Yes.
So he became a bishop while I was at the seminary still at Gaba National Seminary teaching. Okay. That's when he became bishop of Kasana Luwero. Okay. Yeah.
So you get into contact fully probably when he gets to Kampala as Archbishop.
That was the more closer contact now we came in. He came to Kampala Archdiocese in 2006. At that time, I'd been appointed parish priest of Cathedral Parish by the then Archbishop of Kampala, Cardinal Wamala. I'd been there from 2002, I think October, and he came in 2006. So that's where he found me as the parish priest of Cathedral, of Rubaga Cathedral Parish. So that was a bit close now. But I didn't stay long there. When he arrived, I think towards the end of the year, that year, he asked me to leave Rubaga and go be parish priest of Wakiso Parish and Episcopal Vicar of Wakiso District, also Vicariate. So I left Rubaga. So I didn't stay closely with him at Rubaga for a long time. So I left and I went to Wakiso. So and then I worked as his assistant in that area called Wakiso Vicariate. And then while I was there, we had Monsignor, now Bishop Paul Semogere, who was the parish priest here, yes, and the vicar general of the diocese. So he was now appointed to replace him in Luwelo.
So when he came to Kampala, Luwero didn't have a bishop for all that time?
He didn't have a bishop for some time until they elected Bishop Semogere in 2008. So it means for
2 years,
almost 2 years, there was
since 2006.
Yeah, up to 2008. That's when they so when they elected the bishop in Kasana Luwero,
there was a vacancy here.
There was a vacancy here, not for me. Not for me, but I was appointed. He asked me now to come
and occupy this vacancy
and take this place of and be also Episcopal Vicar of Kampala. That's what he asked me to do. So I came, and since then I'm here, and he has left me here.
Okay, Msgr, we're taking a very short break. On return, now you give us a picture of how you worked with him and the kind of man you found in him. Because at least, even if there were 8 months, you must have a description of the kind of man Kizito Lwanga was in his works and how you used to operate. Then, much as you have been distant in Wakiso and back to Kampala, still you were reporting to him.
Yes, right.
And he must have been consulting you. How is Wakiso? How is Kampala Vicariate? You must be knowing something about the man, Kizito Lwanga. To you watching us, we are paying tribute to the late now Archbishop of Kampala Diocese, Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga. And we have a senior man in the Catholic Church, especially here in Kampala Diocese, Msgr Gerald Kalumba, and we're having a good discussion about as we eulogize Dr. Lwanga. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy this break. Get your cup of tea. Keep it with us. Welcome back from the break. Msgr Gerald Kalumba of Kampala, Christ the King, is our guest this evening. Yes, Msgr, welcome back from the break.
Thank you very much.
So you worked with the Archbishop when in Kampala. He gave you assignments.
Yes.
First of all, you were under him at Lwanga for some little time. Then he sent you to Wakiso and called you back to Kampala.
That's right.
How would you describe Lwanga as a supervisor?
Well, I think he's a person who wanted to, because he had a diocese which it's not very big in terms of area, but in terms of population, it is a diocese with quite a dense population. Kampala city itself, Wakiso, these are the areas which are densely populated. Sure. Then the other part, also people in PG areas, Maokotan, Butambala areas. So it's not very big in terms of area, but it has a lot of people. So I think he's the type who wanted to reach out to people as much as possible and maybe make it easy for people to access services of the church, the pastoral services. So that's why he decided to divide up in the vicariate. So he divided up the Wakiso Vicariate, Kampala Vicariate, and Mitara Maria Vicariate. And he put people to assist him there in some of the roles he pointed out.
Where he would not reach on a daily.
Yeah?
Where he would not reach.
What would not be, even us, we cannot be in every parish on a daily basis. But people don't have to travel all the way all the time to Lwanga looking for the Archbishop. He said you can assist him in some of those areas. Like, for example, assisting people who want to have mixed marriages, you can sign papers for them. And some other, you can assist him in confirmations, when you are called for confirmation in schools or areas of that nature, you can assist him to administer the sacrament of confirmation. And some other areas where people may need inquiries or to meet the Archbishop, where it is not very necessary that you have to meet the Archbishop himself, would assist him in such areas. So that was, I think, that was the type of person who wanted to share his responsibilities with. But of course, then it was important for him that we go there to share what is happening, to give reports of what is happening. That was very important for him, that we should give reports. So he had created times for meetings with him as people who work in such capacities would meet maybe every 3 months or
the leader of the different
vicariates and so forth. But again, he became too busy sometimes that it became sometimes not possible to have such a meeting. But otherwise, he was very interested because as a person in charge of the whole diocese, it was important for him, and it's true, that he should know what is going on. Because we are not there independently. True. We are there to represent. So when you represent, it's good to report what is happening, or anything that it requires, so that the whole diocese now can look at the whole diocese from those reports and see and plan, and he was always very interested in planning. He wants to do planning. He wanted to make programs, both pastoral and social and economic programs for the diocese. He was very, very much interested, especially in that area of, like, he had started Wekembe, for example, when he was still in Kasana, where he was very interested in the economic and social development of people, and that's what he took as his emblem. I think he's leading, what do you call that in English?
It's an emblem.
He says the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10, that they may have life and have it to the full, so that
pray and work, so that you have life.
Pray and have it to the full. Pray and work.
Yes.
Pray and work. So he was that type of person, I think, was interested in the good of the people, in the development of the people. And he did his best, I think, in that area.
Is that why some people say he has been very tough And some of you priests,
I don't know
when
whether
you
it
find
was.
somebody not doing things the right way,
Yeah.
he would really not be, you'll get problems with him. How true is that?
I don't know. I've never personally seen him tough to me as such. I didn't see that, but if I think people did their work, he was very friendly, very kind, very welcoming. If people did their work, but he was a busy man, so maybe that was a bit difficult. Sometimes people would not find it difficult to see him because he was a little bit busy. That made it a bit difficult for some people to see him. But to say that he was tough, I wouldn't really describe him like that. I didn't describe him like that. I think if people did their work, I think. But of course, as a leader, he would show concern if somebody not
Do things
the right way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, where does his death leave Kampala Archdiocese, in your view? Because having served in the different seminaries in the diocese for a very long time, you have been parish priest at the cathedral in Wakiso, and here you have headed the vicariate in Wakiso, in Kampala. You have been his
Second Vicar General.
General.
I was the Vicar General for a year when Msgr Kasivante was on leave. But that's the time of the lockdown, so there was nothing.
Actually, you have tested the diocese. When there is no lockdown, even when there is lockdown. So, where do you think losing Archbishop Lwanga leaves the diocese Kampala?
Definitely.
In fact, the Archdiocese Kampala, looking at all the dioceses under the Archdiocese.
The Archdiocese of Kampala has these other dioceses under the same area. Yeah.
Masaka,
Mitiana and Rugazi, yes.
Where does this leave us?
But each diocese is independent for that matter. Each diocese operates independently. But if there is anything for coordination, then he was the one in charge as the Archbishop.
Yes. Where does his death leave us?
Well, like all departures of this nature it is a wound. It causes a scar. He had programs that he had thought of as a person in his own personality, because each leader has a personality, and we are not the same. So those programs which he had perceived and conceived, the perception he had, the direction he wanted to take in the diocese, and the achievements he wanted to make for the diocese, those of course somehow become a bit now paralyzed, and it's not easy to say that even if anybody else, another one comes, whoever comes, you cannot say we will do exactly the same way. They are not the same people. I think they will build, anybody who will come will build on what he has done, what he has started in a form, that in a personality that there will be, but he has been very, very. Trying to take a lot of initiatives in many areas, both spiritual, pastoral, economic, and social development. He has been he was in charge of Caritas for Africa, I think, on the international level. Here in Uganda, I think he has still been the one in charge of Caritas Uganda at the level of the Episcopal Conference. So you can see that area was really at his heart, the area of Caritas. Caritas means more or less social development. That's the word we used to use in the past. But social development may sound only secular. But when you speak of Caritas, you put in a spiritual element. You don't only speak of money and
the economic aspect that involves.
Yeah. So I think that's where there will be a lot of there would be a gap in that area, but the God is always because when he came in, he found also the one he replaced is still around. And he came and he
also had programs that he continued.
He continued.
So we only pray that
somebody else comes and will continue.
Amen. Now, there was a time that appeared difficult when priests started almost going against the norms of the church. Others suspensions. Another one doing this. Of course, I'll not go into the depth because some others came back, apologized, and taken back. What is your view of how he handled the situation?
I have a short memory these days. I'm getting old.
I'll handle you something so that you get to remember.
I don't know exactly how things started and went out of hand a bit. I don't know exactly what happened. It was events after events, and it was a very unfortunate situation which must have hurt him deeply, I think. That see that his priests, people whom he should work with, turned in that kind of situation. But somehow I think with prayer and seeking God's the Spirit as the assistant of the Spirit, I think he calmed down and took decisions and lived on and see how events moved on and so on and so forth. But it was not an easy situation, I think. Definitely for him and for anybody else. It was hurting to the whole church. Nobody wanted things to move that way. But that's the world, that's history in this world, things happen. And
Monsignor, you have trained so many priests in the seminaries where you have been. And one thing we admire about people, products of seminaries, is discipline. Ideally, in your view, what do you think could have gone wrong that we got to see priests veering from the right path of the church?
I don't know what went wrong. Then now we would have to ask exactly individuals of why things went the way they went. I don't know, because these are people who must have been working with the Archbishop, and I won't understand really. I don't want to speculate exactly on what went wrong, but definitely, as you are mentioning, there must have been some unfortunate bit in the background of formation that generally in the Catholic Church we don't react like that generally in the Catholic Church. But in modern days, anything can happen. These are things that have been changing from the beginning of the church up to this. The things change, people change, but very often you would not have expected really that to act, to react in such form, in such manner. It was not very much something that used to happen, but things happen. Martin Luther was a Catholic priest also, who left, and that's how Protestant church started, in Lutheran church and what. He was a priest. So things have happened in the church. It's not the first time it happened. Things have happened in the church. It's not, we don't want things that nature to happen. We want a one church, a strong church which goes out into the community with the message of Christ, to unite, to cause forgiveness and mercy and love, hope, and so on. Not to go to the community with disruption, with hate, with fighting. That's not what the church is supposed to be in the community. That would be that's very unfortunate.
That's when we heard of the claims that I was telling you, that some people used to say he's very tough, he's not listening, he handles some of us the wrong way, and things like that. That's when we got to hear such
claims. I don't know, because that's why I said I didn't know exactly what started, how things erupted like a volcano. It was like a volcano erupting, and then fire comes out. I didn't know exactly what was cooking down there. I don't know what cooked down there. I don't like to. I don't know. I don't know.
We have two bishops buried in the cathedral. Then Dr. Lwanga is going to be the third. In Msgr the late Dr. Kagwa was buried in the cathedral?
No, I think he was buried in Bukala Cemetery, but in a small church there, where also Bishop Sentongo is buried and Bishop Kalanda Paul is they are buried in a small church in the cemetery of but Bishop Dungu is buried in Vira Maria, which used to be the cathedral, I think, at that time at the beginning, Vira Maria Church. But I don't think there is any priest buried in Chitovu Church.
Okay.
No.
Tell us a little about that norm. Where does it come from, and who qualifies to be buried inside? And
I
how
think
do I qualify?
I think all bishops the ordinaries of all these dioceses have the privilege to be buried in their cathedrals. They have that they have the privilege to be buried in the cathedrals. Okay. If that's them, if they make that will, if they don't change that norm, then the church would ordinarily know that that's where we. But if they indicate something different, then the church can, Cardinal Nsubuga was buried down at Narukolong instead of the cathedral. They said that was his will. That's what he wanted. I don't know whether it was a written will or they had him speak like that. I don't know. But eventually they respected
Dr. Joseph
Kiwanuka and Bishop Edward Misho, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are the ones inside the cathedral. But how many bishops? But then Bishop Stensera is in Vira Maria in Masaka, and then Bishop Kiwanuka is also there. But also the first two priests in Masaka,
yes,
the first two priests in Uganda are also buried in Vira. They were removed from one was removed, I think, from the cemetery in Bukalas, and the second one, I think, when he died, was directly buried in Vira Maria church. So there are two priests who are in the church there, and the Archbishop. Archbishop Stensera.
What do you think about some believers in different denominations that don't understand Catholics when it comes to that?
I've not met believers who don't understand the Catholics from that point of that they, because this is the leader.
People are interpreting it in a different way. Why?
Yeah, these are leaders. The bishops are successors to the apostles in our understanding of the lineage of that administrative or that apostolic mission.
Yes.
Jesus left his mission to the apostles, the 12 apostles for that matter.
Yes.
And among them there was also Peter, who was put on top of all the group. And for him now the center became Rome. That's where the St. Peter's Basilica and so on. So then also St. Paul, who joined them at a much later stage, as also even a cathedral also in Rome, St. Paul's Cathedral in Rome. They are supposed to have been buried there, but these are very old days. I don't like to speak about that. So the apostolic tradition has it that in the Catholic Church, somebody to be a bishop is linked to that apostolic lineage from the beginning, as people came being appointed and ordained and laid hand on by different in succession up to our times. So the bishops actually are there to represent, as the church grew. Of course, you don't have now only 12 apostles. The church grew, multiplied. Yes. So these are the successors to the apostolic succession, and because of that they have that privilege of they are the leaders in the church, the top leaders in the church. Actually, each bishop is the top leader of that church. Of course, there is Rome, which is the unifying, but otherwise the bishop is given all that authority to lead the church where he is, not as he wants, but following the norms of the Catholic Church and the faith of the Catholic Church. And
so is this an honor?
Somehow, if you look at it from a human point of view, we are human beings. If you want to look at it from that human point of view, yes, it's a bit of honor for the position he holds in the church and in the community.
What next for the archdiocese? What next? What should people? How would you give hope to the Catholics in Kampala Archdiocese and all those who are concerned about the Archdiocese and the church?
The best way to eulogize the Archbishop is to keep the faith going. Then people will say, yes, he did his work. If we begin grumbling and then we say, hey, what did he do? So the best thing, the best way to say that our Archbishop has done his best and he has died on his job and has done his ministry well is to see that the church remains strong, that the church remains focused, that the church remains forgiving, that the church remains loving, that the church remains supportive and working for the people. And so I think that's the best way to say thank you very much for what you have done. The Lord has called you now. We would have liked you to stay around and assist and continue your work. But because the Lord have called you, pray for us while you are there so that we continue the good work you have done, so that the church continues the good work in the Archdiocese of Kampala. I think that's the best way we can...
Still my other one, briefly still, and with your permission, there is already a lot of anxiety about succession. Now they're going to appoint so and so.
That much I don't know, because I'm not part of the people who appoint. But no, I'm not.
Who qualifies? Is it among the 4 bishops within the Archdiocese? I
don't know who qualifies for that matter. Maybe, but I think the procedures are clear. They are done by the Apostolic See. They have their procedures of looking out to see who can do what work in what place. That's not for me to speculate about. I don't think.
No. I know, Monsignor, but is it that the Archbishop must be gotten from among the bishops? Then a bishop is gotten amongst you.
I don't know whether that is a rule or a formulation. I'm not sure about that. I've not heard about it, that the rule like that. But of course, this is a major diocese, a big diocese, a central diocese. Yeah, one would think it requires experienced people. So I would not be surprised if they brought some experienced person of the type you are thinking of. But I'm not saying I know. I don't know anything, because that's not within my area at all. I only wait and hear.
What you get annoyed with what I'm going to say?
No, I don't know what you are going to say.
Let me say it.
Yes.
Because I've heard your name being mentioned in some circles on social media.
Those are making empty noise. That's empty noise.
Okay, Monsignor, we are winding up.
Yes.
Christ the King is part of the Archdiocese, and you have been you have constructions going.
Yes, please.
Was he part of you in the works?
Definitely. As the Archbishop of the diocese, he's the one who gave us the permission to go ahead and renovate and reconstruct the church. He's the one who gave us that permission. We didn't do it on our own.
True.
The question he asked us that time when we went to ask him that we do the renovation, and we told him the money that was being asked, which was 8.8 billion, this question he asked, do you have the money? We said we have collected something, but we don't have enough. But that's why we are also here, that in case we need your assistance, maybe to do what, we shall always come back to you if we need your assistance. But one day, I think in 2018, he visited us when we were celebrating our parish day. That's the first time he came for our parish day, and the last time I didn't see him again, unfortunately. And that time we were already constructing, and he said, yeah, thank you for constructing, thanking the people in the church, thanking them for the contribution they made. And he said, yes, I also promise I will assist at a certain stage. I will also give something. But unfortunately, by the time of his death, that had not yet materialized. We have missed it. So that's where we are. But it's definitely, the major contribution he makes is to accept. Otherwise, you cannot work if he does not accept. Without his acceptance, we can't work.
So how far have you gone as we wind up?
How far have we gone? Definitely the construction, the structural construction has been done, and the roof has been put, and the major part of the ceiling has been put. The major part of the floor, the granite stones have been put. What is the big thing remaining now is the windows. The windows are a big factor. The contractor has not been working for some time.
Why?
Because there are certain issues. For him, the contract he signed with us was, I think, to renovate and extend. But when they started the work, they themselves, the contractors, said they could not extend the church on the old church. So we allowed them to demolish and reconstruct and start afresh the whole church. So I think with that, I think now toward the finishing of the work, they are wondering whether we shall pay the extra money. So I think they want some assurance.
Apart from your Christians, don't you need money from the rest of us?
Please, you are one of those Christians. UBC is part of Christ the King.
Tell them through this camera, and that will be your last remark. To come and support you.
Please, we shall be grateful to all our friends in town here and outside town if they want to come and assist to finish our church, and we get back to pray in a more comfortable place. Okay. I thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to talk to the people about our church.
We just had to.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Monsignor. Yes, he is Msgr Gerald Kalumba. He's the parish priest, Christ the King, the parish in the heart of the city, Kampala. Yes, he is no longer Vicar General, having lost his boss. It is sad, but an interesting lesson to learn. We thank you so much for watching. May the soul of Dr. Cyprian Kizito Lwanga rest in eternal peace.